Let's do it. Why don't you share your
Yeah.
screen and your dashboard so we can go over what you built? Oh shoot, Mike pressed the wrong button, the leave button. So we're gonna wait for Mike to come back and show us the dashboard that he built for Figure Friday week 28. Let me bring
Hey,
it
can you
back.
hear me again?
No, I brought you back, Mike.
Okay. I hit the leave meeting instead of the share
Yeah,
button.
yeah, I assumed.
What is share
So for
button?
context, while Mike is sharing, this Figure Friday week 28 was about a corruption perception index data set around the world from I think 2012 to 2024. And we got
24.
pretty interesting submissions, dashboard wise, visualization wise, Plotly. I might be able to share screen later, but for now, we are going to see from my. Hey, Artem, how are you?
Hey, everything fine. Thank you. Hello,
Hi
everybody.
there.
Hello,
Okay.
hello. Artem, where are you calling us from?
From Israel,
What city?
Akka,
Ak-
Accra.
Akwa. Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Right on the beach.
near, but no.
No? Okay.
Well,
Um,
welcome to his call. I mean,
what, Mike?
I just welcome. I've never met him before. Maybe he was on the last time when I didn't come, but I hope you have a good experience with Figure Friday. I've been doing this for a full year from when Adam began it, and it's really very learning and fun time.
Thank you, but I can't listen. Don't listen. You don't hear you.
Oh, he said Artem that it was a very fun time the last year or so on Figure Friday, and that he it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Adam
This
is in New York City. I'm in California, Silicon Valley.
very nice place.
Okay.
All right, Artem. So I'm going to let Mike share screen. Mike, I see you're sharing. I'm going to add it to our video here, our recording.
Okay.
And Artem, after Mike shares his dashboard, feel free to give feedback, to ask any questions, and then I'm going to pass it to you, Artem, to share your visualizations. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let me start out by saying this chloropleth map is basically the given code that Adam provided. There's nothing really added here other than maybe a little more
But
formatting
Mike,
of
we
the
don't
header.
we don't see it, Mike.
You don't see it. Okay.
We only see the Google search on Plotly Forum page.
Go try this again. I hit the present button, share screen, blah, blah. Oh, I see. I need an entire screen. That's the problem. Okay. Can you see this in reasonable?
Yeah, you're gonna have to make it a little bit bigger,
Okay.
the whole
All
screen.
right.
There we go.
So here's the chloropleth map. It's basically the same thing that you shared, Adam. I added some formatting to the hover info, but really nothing more. The key that I did this week was I implemented one was a double callback, and this is where you've got groups of data, and you want to have a visualization that only includes the group and a menu that only selects from the group. So if I go to like Asia Pacific, the default country is the first alphabetic name, Afghanistan. In Europe, it's Albania. Uh, and so that was a new capability for me in any real way. Where's my code here? Excuse me. So this is just one callback for the pull down menus. You select a region and it outputs to the select country menu, a list of countries. Um, that's pretty cool. And to be honest with you, I've struggled to make that work in some of my real work stuff. So getting this going in a Figure Friday context is something I can directly take into my real work. So that's my double callback, and I'll be using this a lot in my work. And then the other thing I did was this visualization is the key one. It reminds me of something I've seen in the New York Times where you have a focused country highlighted in a blue color, and all the other traces are visible, but they're light gray to de-emphasize them and put them in the background. Um, so for my screenshots I showed how Ukraine seems to have a improvement on its corruption since 2012. And you think about they were invaded by Russia, Crimea in 2014, and then the rest of the country in 2022. Uh, and as their country resisted Russia, I think their president Zelensky maybe drove down the perception of corruption in that country. I understand that there was a lot of corruption there going back before these events started with Russia. And then there was Turkey. I pointed this out where it seems like the corruption's been increasing under the tenure of President Erdogan. Um, that people have different opinions, but I don't find that surprising. And just look at a couple more countries, though. If I go to the United States, this one is a little hard to believe. I think the United States corruption has been increasing steadily since about 2016, but I, I don't see it in this data. Um, and if we go to, let's take a look at Israel, since we have Israel on the phone. Not sure what region it is. Yeah, here it is. I have not looked at Israel, but it looks pretty steady. It's zoom in on it. You see, it's getting slightly better. Um, I think obviously Israel has been in a war, and maybe that's reduced the corruption level. I'm not sure, but um, those are interesting points. I did a little cheat on my year axis where I plotted the year just by the two-digit number and then use this as a legend to indicate it. That keeps the labels from bending or turning. And that's really about it. But oh yeah, one more point. This kind of graph with the customization, in my view, pretty much required using graph objects. And it is pretty cool how you can customize every trace with graph objects. I'll just bring up the code briefly and then move on to the next speaker. But somewhere in here, this is where you instantiate a figure. All the graph objects components start with capital letter instead of lowercase letter, but I use this notation where this is the default plotting style, but if the focus country equals the country that's being iterated through this enumerate list, then change the trace color to bright blue, increase the line width, go to lines and markers, and then there's a key one, the Z order, to make sure my focus trace is on top and not behind any of the others. And it just goes through a loop and it adds the traces one at a time. It sounds inefficient in a way, but there's no latency whatsoever that I can perceive. So that's kind of cool to go into graph objects. I've used that from time to time in the past, but generally Plotly Express is easier to get a visualization going, but sometimes you need the advanced customization that graph objects provides. So that's really all I have to say. I threw a table in here as just reference information, and the table always matches the selected country, Algeria, whatever, Israel.
It's always good to have a table at the bottom so people can. Sometimes, in many cases, people prefer to have a table and to read the data that way. So it's good that you have
Yeah,
both.
yeah. To your point, Adam, about on the bottom, I think in many cases where you're just putting the table there in case anybody needs it, but you don't expect it to be a focus of somebody using the dashboard, the bottom is a good place for it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Artem, do you have any comments or any questions about Mike's app? Things that you're seeing?
I think I haven't very pretty dash and very interesting. And thank you about the information about Israel.
Yeah. This
And
code, by the way, is posted on the community. If you're interested, you can grab it. I'm the guy who always uses polars. I've moved on from
and
pandas.
can we see information about Russia because this is my next
Yes, yeah.
country? It will be interesting.
I don't think the axis goes high enough for that, but that's
I know.
joking here. But let's look at this is Europe, Central Asia, I think. Let's see, it's in here
I
somewhere.
think it's
Russia.
yeah.
Well, okay, so the corruption increase in Russia is pretty
Yeah.
dramatic from the start of the Ukraine war, and I think this going up in 15 may be linked to Crimea. I'm not sure about all the geopolitics, but it's a pretty high level to begin with, right? It ranks 133 in the world, so 132 countries are less corrupt than Russia.
And
Um,
it dropped, right from what we're seeing here, Mike. It dropped from 133 from 2012 all the way to what is it now? 160?
oh, it's
154.
154 in 2024.
So it dropped 20, about 20 places in the last 12 years.
Yeah, and yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes with the full access shown, you have to look closely to see the corruption level changing. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I was thinking about putting a label right next to the blue trace, and things got on the way. So instead, I used this subtitle with the country
Nice.
name, same color
Nice.
as the trace.
Artem, what do you think? Does this make sense to you what you're seeing in the graph, or you don't necessarily agree?
About Russia, this is not surprise for me because I lived more than half a life, and I
Yeah.
understand why. Um about the dash, I think it's pretty cool, and I have a question.
Well, one thing about this data set, I think it's a great data set for our Figure Friday. Uh, but in many cases, you would take this data, some of it with a grain of salt, because I don't know where the numbers come from. Are they like human surveys or who knows what? This isn't like measurement of rainfall in different countries or something that has more specific, accurate numbers. So some of the things you'll see make sense. Some of them you might go, oh, it's got to be more corrupt than that, or can't be that corrupt. But the United States, I don't know who made those numbers up. I think the corruption has been bending a bit higher in this country.
I guess it's perception, right? It's perception of corruption. So it's a good question. How I didn't dig too deep into the data. Is it the survey? Is it? It's from different sources. But how do sources reach that decision of perception is an interesting research topic in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's there was a visualization. I know you share this with you sometime, Adam. I just read a book called Effective Visualizations by Matt Harrison, and he does this visualization in Matplotlib, but uh, it's where they look at the election results in Russia, and he plots this thing without any grid lines. And what you see is it looks like there's grid lines like every 5%. And so his conclusion is that when the precincts report the election results, they're not counting any votes. They just wing it, right? And they go, okay, my guy won with 75%. The next comes in and says 65%. And so you see this concentration on multiples of five that is very unnatural.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. All right. Mike, thank you for showing you building this and showing your app. I was pretty excited to see your submission fairly early in the week, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I definitely was good to get it done early. And I had a ball working on this, by the way. I
Good,
absolutely loved it. Um,
good.
when you start these things, they often end up different when you get them done than what you intended to make at the beginning.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be that way, but with a lot of experimenting, ideas come.
cool.
So
Thank you, Mike. All right,
thank you.
I'm gonna remove your share screen from here.
Yeah.
Harris, thank you for joining us. Welcome,
Hey,
welcome.
hey,
Long
I'm
time
back,
no
and
see. It's good to see you.
yeah, I'm back, and I'm empty-handed at the moment.
No
So
worries.
that's,
Your observations and any feedback will be much appreciated. All right.
yeah, I was going to quickly ask if you don't mind, Mike, just a quick one. I haven't been doing much in the way of any plots recently, but what I did like about Plotly and its charting engine is that you can manipulate all the individual little data points. You could look at a line chart and say if this point is above that point, you could be green and blue and all sorts. When I saw your chart there, you had highlighted one line. I didn't see the very beginning of it, but
Oh, okay.
that line that was highlighted, was that some magic, or was that just clicking on the legend and it highlights? Because
Oh,
I
I'll
thought,
show you. No,
yeah,
definitely it's not a legend tool. Can you see my screen again?
Yes.
I can. Yeah, sorry, I just want to learn because I'm
Okay.
thinking actually, I
So
thought
I mean, the
legend.
basic function, I think you get this, is this line represents the selected country.
Yeah,
Uh, that's pretty obvious, right? So the way I did that was I used graph objects instead of Plotly
yeah,
Express. Graph objects is maybe a little more complex to use, but it has greater customization
yes,
capability. So let me just walk you through this code here. It has a loop over every country in the selected region, and it sets these default values for just use lines, make
mm-hmm,
everything light gray,
mm-hmm,
a narrower width of 1, and z equals 0 puts the trace behind the focus country. And then
mm-hmm,
as you go through this loop, we're focusing on one country that gets passed in this function. When when the focus country equals the country we're looping on, it changes these plot parameters
yeah,
to blue for the trace, etc. And so when you go and you add these traces one at a time, it uses the scatter mode
mm-hmm.
for the mode. Um, it uses the z order, the line
The color,
color, the
yeah.
multicolor.
Yeah, that's excellent. I guess that was the case. I was just wondering if it was like default Plotly functionality that when you clicked on the legend, it highlighted it, but I could not remember. And that's exactly the same reason why I use graph objects, to be honest. I kind of ummed
Yeah,
and ahed about using the out of the box versus the graph objects. And I understand that the graph objects, sometimes it can feel like overkill if you're trying to build a bar chart. But,
yeah,
I look at that bar chart and think, I might want to do a million different things to this sort of chart, and that's why I kind
yeah,
of lean towards the graph objects instead. I just prefer them, but I can imagine that analysts who just want to render something might just go for the basic Plotly Express, I think it was. But yeah, I like the graph objects, to be honest. Lots more cool stuff. I like to be able to interact with the single data point and say
mhm,
that data point should
yeah.
be green because of all sorts of different parameters and things. That's cool.
Well, I start with Plotly Express, generally speaking, but when I have an idea, I need to do something that is easier in graph objects, I move to it. And you can see here, I forced the legend off for this visualization.
Yeah.
Um, just didn't seem needed. So, um, and this is the simple code to stick in a subtitle with the country name forced to a bold blue.
Mm-hmm. That's
Um,
cool. No, thanks, Mike. I thought it might be the case, but I wanted just to clarify because I'd missed the beginning.
no,
So that's
you're right. Yeah. If you're already like going with graph objects most of the time, I'd say you're at the advanced level of.
I don't know. I mean, I get 5 minutes a month to do this, but yeah, it's cool stuff. I mean, I think what drew me to Plotly is the fact that it's so flexible, and I like that because
Yeah, I mean, it was only a few weeks ago I saw a plot like this in the New York Times, and they have very good data visualizations.
yeah, yeah.
So that was
Thank you, Mike.
okay.
Appreciate it. Hey, Amy. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry I'm late. I actually just became aware of the Figure Friday probably like 2 minutes ago, and I was like, "Hey, it's happening now."
It's
Thanks
now.
for having me.
No, thank you. Thank you for. Where are you calling us from?
I'm on my work desk in Rhode Island. I'm part of the Brown University Health team, and I'm cross associated with Brown University.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hello.
And it's take your junior research engineer to work day.
Good.
Sorry.
Good. No,
Okay. No,
thank
no, no,
you.
no, no.
Amy, thank you for joining us. Figure Friday, this we do every week. We do on Fridays at noon. So you're welcome to join us. Hopefully, you can join us every Friday.
Yeah,
Um,
fantastic.
And what we're doing right now, like we do every Friday, is we are going over the applications, graphs, visualizations, and Dash apps that were actually submitted. And then we provide comments or feedback to help people grow and learn from the things that we build as a group.
Fantastic.
Amy, I don't remember. There were a lot of submissions this week for the corruption perception index data set. So I don't remember if you submitted something or you're here mainly to observe and provide potentially perfect. Great. Okay. Same like Harris. So we're going to jump to Artem. Artem, Mike, do you mind unsharing your screen? I
Yeah,
stopped the
okay.
screen share.
Yes.
And then Artem, if you can share your screen and show us what you built. I know I have a question about one of the graphs.
Okay, I think I've stopped sharing.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, Tim. We see the graphs, the dashboard.
fine. First of all, hello to everyone, and nice to meet you. This my first time too, um, and I'm sorry I may cough because I have cold.
No worries.
Yeah. About my dash, it's I think it's a simple one. The first tab of dash is the overview tab. You can see a histogram of CPA scores, and you can see that concentration of countries around scores 40 or 50, 30, 50, because the average CPA score is 42.
And Artem, sorry to cut you off for 1 minute, for 1 second, but for our viewers and people who just joined us, CPI, if you don't recall the data set, will stand for Corruption Perception Index. And generally speaking, the Artem, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the higher the CPI, the less good it is because it's the higher the perception. Am I correct?
No, the highest is the good, the lowest is the bad. And
Perfect.
the best countries places here, the worst here.
Okay.
Okay, and we will see it. We can see it in the next visualization. We in the CPI score versus rank. Um, it's visualize emphasizes regional despites in corruption perception. And we can make geographic patterns easy to understand with this. And we will see that Denmark has the
Rank
in the
number
first
one.
one, yeah, CPA score 90, and the lowest CPA score is South Sudan. And you will see in the next graph in the map that very clean with corruption. It's Western Europe, it's North America, and high corrupt in some Asian countries, African countries, and South America. Uh, in the next step, this was my experiment. I made principal component analysis. It compresses multi-typal CPA metrics that we have in this dataset and make two new axes, PCA1 and PCA2. In the x-axis, PCA1 reflect overall corruption levels with high values for clean countries. I made correlation, and after that, I made this axis, and the PCA2 y-axis. It's a secondary difference, like rank, something else. And we will see that the countries with very low corruption in the right and in the left with very high corruption. And
So Artem, can you this I wasn't sure I was completely I completely
mhm.
understood this. Like, let's take the ones. in the purple, like the purple blue on the right, on the right, sorry, the blue from
Blue.
2 to, let's say, what is it, like 8, on that average is a big, it's a big range. So it means that these are have low CPIs, very good ranking, and you
Yeah,
did the correlation. What is it showing me? The correlation between what?
I made correlation between the um, between CPA metrics with in this data set like
Okay.
we have here. In I made the tab with the table too easy to understand with what we are working now, and we can see
Okay.
it here. I
But what
made
is actually the number 2 to 6? What is that actually telling me? That number on the x-axis.
in these results of mm, I can show. Can you see my code now?
No, we can only see
No.
the first screen now.
Okay, just a second. Mm, yes, and you can you see it?
It's small, but we can see it.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I take some from sklearn. I take some statistic function. I work with that with numerical columns in this data set, and after that I made the PCA. It's this is compose all computes that I did, and after that we have PC, two axes, xPCA1 here and PCA2. That um, just a second, maybe I made notes. Maybe I have yes. PCA. Why I did it because PCA reduce complexity of
Okay.
all metrics what we has in dataset,
Okay.
and make it easy to understand and it natural group in it.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay. Thank you, Artem.
yep. And last but not the least, historical trends. I did only average global CPA by the years, and we can see that CPA score is one of the lowest in the
In the last 12 years.
yes, yes. It's
Nice.
not because when the best we have in 2020. Yep, and one of the lowest is now, unfortunately.
But wait, but in the other graph, the lower the CPI, the better.
No, no, no. I say it here that it's Denmark 90. Here, it's the highest CPA score. It's rank one, and the CPA score was 90.
Oh, the highest. Oh, so yeah,
Yep,
that makes sense. Okay.
yep, and the lowest was South
Ah,
Sudan.
okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you for presenting, Artem, and for showing us. I like how you put everything in like 5 different tabs. The advantage of that is that people don't have to scroll down or scroll up, move right, move left. Everything is on one page. All they have to do is click on a separate tab if they want to see something else. So very efficient UI for that.
Thank
And
you.
then adding the table is great. Like I told Mike, people often like to see data in a tabular format, all the data that they can filter, sort, change, and they could do that with the data table a lot easier than any other graph, usually. And the map is great also because it's very easy to see like a bird's eye view of the whole globe when you look at the map instead of like a line chart or a little scatter map. Here you can see everything. You like your brain consumed the information a lot faster, like a snapshot, and then going into like a scatter graph and looking at it one by one. Um, Really cool. Does
Yeah,
anybody?
I just like to add
Mike?
one comment about the mapping in general, not just this visualization, but Plotly, in my view, has very, very good mapping capabilities. I mean, it's amazing how little code it takes to make a chloropleth map of the whole world or some specific region, or like in a city like we did for Raleigh a few weeks back. That that is really a great capability. I don't know, it's very easy with other libraries, but Plotly does it well. And we moved to Map Libre about half a year ago. I mean, that's useful. I use a
Yeah.
lot personal stuff.
Yes, I agree with Mike because it's easy to understand geographical data in
Yeah,
the
something I do on the side is I work with local politics to plot election results by like precincts in the area, and that's all done with Plotly, Map Libre.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any other feedback or questions or comments?
I like your work. It's nice to have you on this call. I hope we see you around in more coming weeks. You're very interesting
Thank
presentation.
you. Thank you. Nice to hear it. Thank you very much.
I think what's cool is when we were mentioning talking earlier about the graph objects thing on the I think historical trends was that the last tab was it when I think something cool which is definitely worth looking into for that graph objects thing is when you were pointing out the highest and the lowest. I was looking at 2014 and 2020 and thinking, right, which one is actually the highest? I'm looking closely just to think, is it 2014 or is it 2020? And with the graph objects, I was mentioning earlier,
2020.
yeah, you could highlight that by sitting and saying, look, that particular dot is the highest part, and then just highlight it with a different color or something to say, that's the green, and then the lowest point again, it's a bit easier to see for I guess 2013 and 2015. It's easier to see there, but it's kind of nice to sit and put that high dot and that low dot and say, look, you can see exactly what year it is. So without somebody looking closely or hovering to get a hover, a tooltip, you can just look at it and go, yep, that year there was the best, and that year there was the worst. So graph objects, if you haven't looked into them yet, totally awesome. I mean, just like, and you can just do anything with them, and it really does lend. I like the idea that if you build a dashboard, you should be able to look at your dashboard and within like a couple of seconds get all the information that you kind of need, and then you could drill down into more sort of stuff instead of sitting there trying to investigate it. I use like an analogy with like a car dashboard. If you're looking at the dashboard of your car, you don't investigate it for 10 minutes as you're driving. You quickly look down and go, right, I'm out of fuel. Because it's got a red light to say you're out of fuel. It's not difficult, but yeah, that's cool, man. I liked it, and I think it's lots of space for improvement and cool stuff.
Yeah, thank you for your feedback. I didn't think about it yet. I made note. For me, this really good idea.
Yeah, it's cool stuff, man. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for your feedback, Harris. Okay. Let me see here. I'm going to share. Artem, you can stop sharing. Perfect. I'm going to share screen. We have two more submissions of people that couldn't make it today to the session. Share screen. Let me bring that up. Okay, everybody sees the Figure Friday screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is not actually three. We have three applications. This one is not live. It's just pictures, images, screenshots that you, Danny, gave us. This seems like an animated chart that they built. Evolutions of country CPI scores over time using a spiral layout. I would have loved to see this live to actually play with it and see how they move. It's hard to see with my eye like all these different countries at once. I would have liked to focus maybe on one country, but it's cool to see the general trend. It would be cool, I think. I can play the button here. And then we have this. Might be similar to what you were doing, Artem, but it's also an animation of a scatter plot with the x-axis being the structural gradient of corruption and the y-axis being the relative divergence of ranking. Display conscious CPI memory compresses into two PCA components. It's similar to what you did, Artem, but not exactly the same, right?
Yes, I think it's similar, but no, not what I did.
Yeah,
Uh, it will be interesting to see how it's works in life, and I really want to see the code of this
yeah.
stuff.
And you can go into the application itself and then look at the code that he put if you can study it further to see what it's all about. Okay, so that was you, Danny. And then we have an application by Esther. Esther is a very active community member, always posting, always helping others, and always making beautiful Dash apps.
I was going to say, Adam, although Esther's not here, I'm like, where's Esther's work? I've even looked at the post this month, and I thought she's got to have done something. She
Yeah,
always does. That's brilliant.
she always does, and this is really pretty. This is she put it on render.com. So the link to the app is here and it's public. Well, under her post, which is a bit up. We have the number of countries in total. We have all regions that you can change. Maybe you just want to see, I don't know, the Americas, and you'll focus the map only on the Americas. Let's do
Nice.
all. Let's do all for now. And then we have color, which I love. She usually adds these to her Dash apps. We can change the types of color.
Oh my God.
Turbo, I don't
That's
like.
very nice.
They're nice, especially with the black background. They're really nice. They're kind of like,
Sometimes the black backgrounds don't look so good in a screenshot. They
yeah,
get crunched or whatever, but this
yeah,
is really beautiful view.
you're right. So here she's focusing on. Um, Here I'm not sure. I'm a bit confused because it says 2024. However, the slider is from 2012, so I'm assuming. Let me change. Oh, okay. So it's only okay. So I think it's only focused or it's cutting the data to only see one particular year, not from with the range slider here. It seems like it's a range from 2012 to 2020, but on the map, it seems like it's only focused on 2020. In which case, only in 2020. In which case, I would suggest maybe a different, maybe like a drop down or something else. Because when I see all this blue filled in, I assume it's a range.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, I wonder if she's using that for the visualization below the map. It looks like there's two things
It's definitely
highlighted.
for the map because I see the color change in the map. And no, it doesn't change the line chart.
Oh, it's just the min and the max. Okay, that was the point made earlier.
Low, yeah. And then, so here we can see that, oops, yellow, we have the color scale, 82 CPI score, 74. And then maybe like Libya is 14, Algeria is 34, lower CPI. Is this, yeah. And then we have here, so it's kind of cool that you can focus on 1 year at a time. And then we have ranking and trend. So this is a CPI score trend, which I think we saw also on Artem's last tab in his app. Started in 2012 at 43.26, and now it's all the way down, unfortunately, to 42.66. And we can see the min and the max point that she added here, probably with graph objects as well, which is pretty cool.
Well, one thing about this graph, I may mislead people a little bit because this is a worldwide average. You can see the distance from the bottom to the top is not really significant in my view, right? It goes
Yeah.
42.6 to 40. So yeah, that makes sense because it's aggregated, right, over all the countries.
Yeah. Exactly, Mike. And then we have ranking, which I think it looks like a Dash AG grid. these buttons are pretty cool. Instead of seeing all the countries, she said, "Okay, I'll let the user choose top 10, bottom 10." If we just want to focus on bottom 10, I wonder if it's changed the app. No, top 10, bottom 10, and then at least yeah, and then we can see in all. So we can just scroll down and see all of them. Really cool. I like how she put this.
That is a good presentation
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, she's certainly leveraging the Bootstrap components. The layout is nice because making plots is one thing, throwing them onto a screen, I guess, but it's looking pretty because she's leveraging. It looks like the Bootstrap stuff. I'm not sure she's using the main time stuff, but it looks nice. It's.
I think you're right. Here, I think it's Bootstrap, and it does look really nice.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any views on when you would use Bootstrap versus Mantine, or
It's tricky. I think Mike. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, it's like I used to build dashboards in Bootstrap a long time ago, and then the Mantine I wasn't particularly familiar with. And I spoke with, I'm not sure who it was, a particularly smart person in Discord. I can't remember her name, Anne Marie or Marie Anne. I'm not sure which
yeah,
one's which. But and even she said that she couldn't really properly decide between one or the other. I think the component functionality is the thing that would make me choose. I think the Mantine stuff does have possibly more functionality in the components. There's more options there, but Bootstrap I'm a lot more familiar with, so it's a tricky one to choose.
yeah? I started using Mantine because I have some coworkers who do much better dashboards than I could ever do, and they just advised me, move to Mantine.
Yeah, I
So
think I certainly think I'm leaning towards that way just for their functionality. But some of the functionality, which is a bit silly, I'm also a bit silly, but I'm very much an aesthetics person with a multi-select. Instead of like Bootstrap, where you might be able to pull down a drop down which has a certain width and maybe tick boxes to choose that multi-select that you want. With the Mantine component, as you add it, it starts filling in and going wider and wider and wider, and then it does a sort of like word wrap, and then it starts to jiggle around the dashboard, and it starts to look a bit messy. And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if I can live with that because I'm very much about the aesthetics as well as the visualization. In fact, that
well,
looks like Mantine there. Yeah, I'm not sure
like I
then.
say, in Python, everything in Python has multiple ways to solve the same problem, and
Right.
this is one example of it. But they're both great libraries. I just
Yeah, I think even that multi-select there, Adam, that's probably maybe
This
the
one,
Mantine one, isn't it? Yeah, isn't that the Mantine one? Because it's adding the items. I didn't think the Bootstrap one
that
selected the
looks like
multi-select.
Mantine.
Yeah.
it does. I use both. They're both very good libraries. Dash Bootstrap has been around a little bit longer, but Dash Mantine has had a lot of contributions and elements and components added to it.
Hmm.
So it is a very comprehensive library. Um, it's a matter of preference.
Hmm. Yeah.
All right, folks. So we have here, I just chose 3 countries, so it does also update the map and this, and we can see
Nice.
compare line charges between those countries. Um, and this last application by Mary Ann, I like how Mary Ann builds her style of Dash apps because she often gives like an explanation at the beginning or resources and some more background and context to people who are viewing her dash app for the first time and I'm not completely sure about what the data is or stuff like that. Um, and then CPI score distribution by region is the histogram here, the bar chart. She put this on PyCafe, meaning if you click on editor, you can also view the code on the left. I won't do that right now. And this is simple, straightforward, beautiful Dash application. You click on, you can see here the average by over, what is it, a number of countries, and the CPI scores, I think it is. Yeah, distribution. And then if we click on one of them, maybe on it, first of all, I can click on the legend to just see twice to just see that region like this. Now I only see Asia Pacific. Click on it twice again, everything comes back. If I just want to see Americas, I can do that, double click. Or if I just want to remove something, I want to remove Asia, Americas, and Sub-Sahara, now I see only these 3. right? And then I can go in for further information, click on Europe and Central Asia, and this will open up a modal with a dash AG grid table, the country, the CPI score, the year over year CPI score with a nice chart embedded in there, a line chart with the max and min points, like Esther gave us, and then the rank. So it's pretty cool. I really like it. Sub-Sahara.
Yeah, I was thinking actually when I saw Esther's dashboard with the data grid, that's one thing that was missing, and it was like the cool little spark line. I think it was. I mean, maybe it's changed names over the last 20 years. I'm not sure, but this sort of like line chart in a particular row. It's kind of cool that you can render these Plotly charts per row, sort of thing, to see
Yeah.
over time. And you're like, you just get more than just a single number. You can see the trend for that particular country. So that's a cool feature as well. I like that.
True. Yeah, I think you're right, Harris. I think it's called Spark Lines. But it is actually in each row. It's a new spark line. I like Plotly in this case graph. So it you it's limited, meaning it will slow down the
Yeah.
rendering of the table. That's what you get in the app if you're adding like a thousand rows of graphs, because that's like a
Yeah.
thousand graphs in your dash app.
Yeah, yeah. It was one of the concerns I kind of had when I started doing too much and thought, how much can you push it before the fact of the matter that rendering the graphs is actually taking a long time because you're doing too many graphs and stuff like that. But it looked pretty performant there. It looks all right. I mean, I'm sure there's an
I
upper
mean,
limits to what you can
one
do.
way this table could be improved a little bit is to include a column for the region and just put some filtering on region and country columns. That way, instead of 180 rows or whatever, you can narrow it down.
Yeah, it's a good point, Mike. It's a good idea. All right, folks. So these were all the submissions for the Figure Friday of this week. Um, in probably 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes, I will see we're over time here. But in 5-10 minutes, I will publish the next Figure Friday week 29 for this weekend and all of next week until next Friday. And it's going to be we're going to honor our second Plotly meetup in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so we're going to use a data set from Raleigh, North Carolina, open data portal. And that data set is going to be Wake counties, which is the county where the city of Raleigh sits. Wake County's North Carolina budget that was dedicated to the fiscal year of 2023. So we're going to be able to see where the budget was proposed to go, where the budget ended up going, what area, what department, who was the political authority in that department, and how the quantities change. So it's a pretty cool data set. There's a lot of columns that we can play around with. You can do it with, like we've doing it so far, with just a visualization. There is no obligation to create a whole dash app. Sometimes people build and submit one very interesting, unique Plotly graph, and that's very helpful for the community to see. And sometimes they just build on top of the sample graph to make it even better that I provide at the beginning of the post. And sometimes they build a full dash app like some of us did here to see many more things throughout the data and many more trends. Another option would be to use Plotly Studio, our latest product, to actually build a complete dash app using AI, right, within the Plotly Studio application. So if you do not have access, the early access program started about a month and a half ago. If you do not have access or did not get the invitation, just write me a direct message and I will send you an invite and a downloadable application either on Windows or on Mac for you to get started, to install, get started, and then try to just plug in this data set, which I think is about 50 megabytes, and then try to build the Dash app with the help of AI as well. Any last comments, questions, concerns?
I do have a question for you guys. Obviously, there's a very pointed focus to these Figure Fridays with generated or sample data sets. I have some unique requirements for Plotly, or interests, I should say. Primarily, I am seeking to write a online white paper and use interactive Plotly graphs in it for a very dynamic experience. But the vast majority of the data that I use is high dimensional complex mesh 3D meshes. I did see that there's a PLY object importer, but this probably isn't the domain where I can ask these questions for lots of reasons. But if there a Q&A for like, hey, I have this need or this niche of plotting that maybe isn't within the realm of standard workflows and examples. Where should I go for that?
So, Amy, this would be more of a question of like how, okay, I have this very unique data set. I want to use a certain plotly graph for it. It's more a question about what plotly graph would I use or how I would use this graph. It's more like building the graph itself.
Mm-hmm. I do have generated rich data that has been either done in other Python libraries or in MATLAB. So I already have standalone versions. I have attempted to do things like mat to plotly library, but the complexity of like multi-objects, I actually have it all up on my screen, but I again didn't think that this was the venture to ask the question of where do I go for this.
Okay, but just to make sure that I understood correctly, because I might be able to refer you to correct places and people, but it's more like, okay, you've built these graphs in your field that are important for you in other Python libraries, maybe Matplotlib and others. You're excited about Plotly, and you want to see if there's a way to replicate or convert those graphs into the Plotly ecosystem.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's it's a very great environment for disseminating what we've done in a non-publication academic format, and have that be accessible by a more technical audience and being able to interact with it. Because I don't, having them static or doing a screenshot of something that's a three-dimensional render that really does sell when it's interactable. That would be my goal. I'll share my screen and show quick if
Sure, yeah.
helpful.
You got 3 minutes, yeah. Let's do that.
Sure.
As you're doing that, one comment that comes to my mind is that all these standalone visualizations, you can save them as an HTML file. I don't know if your online white paper could embed that into your white paper for interactivity, but
I have tried. So I did attempt to do like a port from these composite figures and generate my Plotly code in order to actually embed that into a graph. But so each of these Mesh 3D objects and their appropriate geometric representations of coordinate systems on the black right screen, there's some of the I am attempting to go through and adjust using the Mesh 3D type of object to load these STLs in independently, allow for all of the shading and material properties. But ideally, I would like to be able to do something, as complex in the 3D rendering space. And then there's other nuanced graphics that give me color map distances to disease states. And like I'd ideally like to be able to do this within a dash and dashboard configuration to be able to toggle through different use cases, different subject criteria of like, if I have my mins and my maxes and I've got tabular content and be able to investigate different interventions. It's not a plug and play.
Yeah.
Is this a dashboard or just a open source visualization?
So these were custom written code by me in both in MATLAB as well as Python. So they're files that I generated.
So one thing I could see doing is you have your white paper, and your white paper has a link to it, and you make it so that when they click on the link, the window pops out. It doesn't leave the paper and just pops up that window. It's not technically embedded, but it's easily accessible for your readers.
Oh, I'm planning to do like the dash as the white paper. Like I'm in the process of like making this a very highly interactive media presence white paper.
Nice.
Or at least that's the hope, right? That's the
Yeah.
goal. And I have a couple different projects for which like I think it would be ideal. I have some four-dimensional CT registration software that I have written that I would really love to be able to show accuracy measures and comprehensive movement visuals. So I don't know if this is outside of the scope of what Plotly really has for a domain experience, but if it can scale, I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, you definitely with Dash app, you can, like you said, you can make everything interactive, and a lot of research papers have started doing that instead of a regular PDF. Now it's an app that people can actually go into, and the professors and all and research can just play around with the interactive graph. The question is, how do we convert these very niche, bespoke graphs into Plotly? Plotly has several 3D graph options, but we have to choose the one that's right for you. So I would say, Amy, let's start with send me an email.
Sure, absolutely.
Just Adam at plot.ly. Adam at plot.ly. And with the images, you can just take a screenshot of what you just shared. And if you have already identified a plotly graph in mind that you think would be a good for this, then let me know. If not, generally speaking, you can just add your general question. Okay, what graph should I use with this? Could I actually replicate something like this in Plotly? And if so, what's the best way to get started? And then I'll talk to my colleagues and a few community members and see how we can best support you.
That would be wonderful. I mean, I did come across, not to further muddy and derail your topic, but I mean, I did come across within your crossing libraries like PLY and STL importers that allow to go through different objects within, but they're singular objects rather than this composite set or hierarchy of three-dimensional objects. So I have a lead. I'm just started, but I figured that if I could, get the suggestions from you guys, that would be wonderful.
Cool. All right.
But yes, I'll draft that email and send it today.
Thank you. All
right.
right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike, Artem, and Amy for joining us. Hopefully, we'll see some more submissions for this next week Wake County budget data, and hopefully we'll see you all next week, next Friday at the same time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
You too.